And now I would like to introduce our undergraduate speaker. The undergraduate program address will be given by Tess Wilson. Tess was chosen for this honor by her fellow classmates.
Hi, Mom. I've been keeping that under wraps for quite a while, so hopefully it was a big shock and nobody blew it. Good evening, and welcome, distinguished faculty and staff, our guest speaker, Robert Duff, my fellow graduates, and all the family and friends here to celebrate with us on this momentous occasion. I am deeply honored to have been selected by my peers to speak tonight. On behalf of us all, I wish to thank the faculty for sharing with us their knowledge, wisdom, and experience. They have exemplified the quality of work and dedication to the field that this department is known for. Chuck Tresser once told me that he had hoped that one day we would be so good at what we do that we would practically work ourselves out of the job. Unfortunately, this is wishful thinking. We have entered into a field with ever-emerging challenges. That is because there will always be new environmental health problems. Nanoparticles, ergonomics, air pollution, climate change, and drug-resistant bacteria, just to name a few. This is just the tip of the iceberg as we face problems that we have yet to create and discover. Yet, we are faced with an even more complex emerging challenge. We live in the age of technology, where unprecedented amounts of information is readily available to the public. Just in browsing social media earlier today, I came across half a dozen articles talking about GMOs and chemical additives in our food that could cause a gambit of nasty health problems. I resisted the urge to look up my symptoms on Wikipedia. Our job is no longer simply to evaluate the extent of exposure and to determine realistic risks and health outcomes. We have the even greater challenge of rationalizing with the irrational, talking the hypervigilant down off of the proverbial cliff. Fear takes over when the health of our families is threatened. Knowledge is power, but without the tools to interpret the data, we lack context, we lack perspective. I once heard a tale about 5 men who were standing in a pitch-black room. They each reached out in the dark and began to feel around their surroundings. They each came to find an object in the center of the room. "It's a snake," one replied. Another disagreed. No, it's definitely a tree trunk." A third claimed that he held a broom. A fourth man felt a wall. They began to argue back and forth, each convinced of their own truths. Finally, the fifth man goes and flips on the light. And the other 4 men were taken aback. Before them stood an elephant. The moral of this story is that each of the men were correct in what they had felt. However, it took the fifth man to take all of the clues, all of the data, and give us perspective. In the careers ahead of you, don't forget that those with views different from your own are not necessarily wrong. They may simply be incapable of evaluating exposure and risk objectively. We will, in our careers, in some capacity, be working with the public. The next time you find yourself struggling to rationalize with the irrational, just try to remember how you felt about these issues prior to taking risk assessment. I look around you, see all you guys, and I'm so impressed by your talent, your ingenuity, enduring spirit, and altruism. We are a diverse and talented group of people. Some have come from far corners of the globe, others from right here in the Pacific Northwest. Yet, we all somehow converged our paths and ended up here in the same place at the same time. Great minds think alike. Do you all remember the first time someone mentioned the major to you? Yeah, what is environmental health? That's what I pondered. So you work with trees, right? Well, no, not exactly. No. Why didn't you just say so? Why did you make it so complicated? You know, after several years of repeating this experience, trying to explain what I do for a living, I've come to the conclusion we have, a real identity problem, and Dr. Fensky touched on this. We need something shorthand, a nickname, something that just, in an instant, evokes exactly what we're doing, right? So what do you guys think? Any suggestions? All right, well, you let me know, okay? Okay. So this brings me to my closing remarks. What is in a name? Perhaps there's purpose behind this cryptic job title. Harry S. Truman once said, "It's amazing what you can accomplish if you do not care who gets the credit." Ironically, that is attributed to Roosevelt. This isn't the kind of work people typically spend too much time thinking about. Solid waste, septic tanks, rodents and zoonotics, invisible microbes, toxic vapors, trip and fall hazards, and so on. So if everything is going right, the public will never think about and never see these things. Only when something has gone terribly wrong will people hear about your work on the 5 o'clock news. The job description entails knowing that if you're really good at what you do, and I believe you all are, this is the UW after all, that you will never be recognized for your successes. Focus on results, not on recognition. Remember why you're standing here now, why you chose this field above all others. Remember in your future careers when you are bogged down with paperwork and meetings. Remember when your computer crashes and the copier jams again. Remember when all your hard work is simply filed away. There won't be a crowd of people cheering you on when you have to shut a restaurant down. You won't be applauded when you have to tell your company that they need to invest $10,000 in personal protective equipment. You may not necessarily be given a pat on the back, a high five, or a 4.0 grade. Don't let it discourage you. Remember the reason why you got into this field in the first place. There are millions of reasons why we do what we do. But know that you can go home at night and feel good about what you have done for society. Stop for a moment and congratulate yourselves on all of your accomplishments. Don't ever forget the small selfless acts you do every day. You are making this world a better and safer place for everyone. Thank you. And congratulations to the graduating class of 2014.